This is going to be a quick video on some posture advice, especially if you work like a desk job and you happen to have the habit of forward head posture. I'm going to start off by saying there's nothing inherently wrong with that position of your head. Like, I see multiple people a day that have this habit. Some people aren't even seeing me for neck problems. Something I observe. It's something that I do when I'm sitting on the computer, or I'm watching TV and I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing. It's a very natural position for people to end up in. The problem is when you spend too much time there throughout the day. And if you're dealing with something like something in your neck or your upper back or your shoulders are a little irritated, spending time in that position inherently puts a little bit more stress on your neck and your shoulder region. So if something's irritated and isn't tolerating a lot of extra stress, that's one thing that we can try and minimize to allow your body to heal. So I wanted to kind of pre-frame the video with that so people understand that, again, it's not necessarily like this. I'm not demonizing the position, more so the concept behind it, which is spending too much time in that position, especially if there's something that you're dealing with that's already irritated. So a couple of things to pay attention to is, again, especially if you work a desk job, is how you are using your backrest. Just some simple changes with how you're using your backrest can actually make a lot of impact in terms of how you're positioning your head. So this is a common mistake that people will make. I make it myself. I have to be really intentional about not doing it, or else I can get some fatigue and irritation in like the muscles in my back and my neck. So I also have to be mindful of this. But what people will do is they'll be sitting at their desk and they'll say, "Hey, I'm using my backrest," right? They have their back against their backrest, and then they will be sitting on their computer. And if you look carefully, you can see that from basically my mid low back and up is actually not touching my backrest. My low back is, but everything above it is not. So if you kind of couple that with just kind of a lazy head position that comes a little bit forward, you can see that there's like a curve that goes all the way along my back up into my neck, right? And the only thing that is stopping me from falling forward are the muscles that run along the backside of my spine, all along that curve, up through the backside of my neck into my head. Because if those weren't actively working, my head would drop down, I would fold forward. So even though you're partially supported in this position, this is actually a position where your body's actually having to work a small amount, but doing that for long periods of time is where things can get fatigued. So if, for example, at the end of the day, you feel a lot of like tension, tightness, fatigue, or you're getting like headaches that kind of radiate into the top of your head or maybe in the back of your eyes, this is something that you might want to check about yourself, right? So something that can help is, rather than just like resting your low back, is actively letting yourself just recline into your chair. So in this position, you can see the difference between my low back just touching my chair and letting everything rest against my backrest. So I'm not actively holding myself up against my backrest. I am like very passively just letting myself recline into my backrest. Some people do really well putting like a rolled up towel, not necessarily at your low back, but maybe at your like upper low back or mid back, to give yourself like a cue to kind of like recline over it. And you can see naturally, just being in this position, my head has a lot harder time being forward. It naturally kind of wants to be back a little bit. So for you, if you happen to be, even though if you're in this position, you still feel like you're like this, all you have to do is also just gently draw your head back, right? It's not like it needs to be this big drastic movement. I'm not asking you to sit like this all the time. You just need to be less like this, more a little bit neutral, as if someone's like bringing their hand towards your face and you're just trying to just gently back away from it. And that's a really easy way to manage your position. So you're a little bit more in a neutral position. Stresses that are being placed on your back and your neck are being managed a little more efficiently by your body. So that's one easy way to mitigate your postural habits, right? If you have the ability to, altering your position, doing a sitting position, for a little while. If you're working a desk job, maybe trying to find a position where you can work in standing for a little bit. Even some other alternatives is you can even get like a thick pillow or folded up blanket that you fold up a few times. It's got some nice cushion, and you can even like go down on one knee, so you can like move your chair back, put yourself onto one knee. So I have like one knee that's bent with my foot flat, the other knee's on the floor, and you can work in this position as well. This is just another alternative. And not that you would spend 10, 15, 20 minutes here, maybe you're spending just 5. But the idea is just to break up how you're sitting, right? And then maybe I'll go back to sitting in my chair again. So maybe just try and implement a few of those things. The biggest thing is really being aware of that small gap that can occur at the base of your back. Really focus on relaxing your back of your shoulders into your backrest, letting your head fall back a little bit. If you find yourself like this, remember, just gently draw your chin back a little bit. And spend a bit more time there. The big picture, if we were to simplify this into like one sentence, is you need to spend less time like this, maybe a little bit more time like this. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know.